First off, hello everyone. We'll have questions at the very end, so y'all remember them because I'll answer them at the very end. But my name is Dr. Rachel and I am a veterinarian. So does everybody know what a veterinarian is? It's pretty standard. Most people know what that is. So for most people, when they think of a veterinarian, they think of somebody that sees dogs and cats, maybe some horses and cows, you know, make sure they're healthy, vaccinate them. But there's lots of different things you can do as a veterinarian. So me in particular, I am a general practitioner, so I do see most pets for wellness visits, general surgery if they're sick. But I don't just do dogs and cats, I also see what are called companion exotic animals. So I will see birds, chickens, ducks, snakes, anything like that, small mammals. So that's gonna be like guinea pigs, rabbits, chinchillas. And I'm also a relief veterinarian at the zoo in Evansville, Indiana. So I'm also a zoo veterinarian. So I'll see things like jaguars, tigers, antelopes, things like that. So I get to do kind of some cool stuff. I get to do a little bit of everything. So a little bit of background on me. So how did I, this girl from just a rural community, end up being out here with my hands on jaguars and things like that? So it all started back when I was probably about y'all's age. I told my parents, like, hey, that would be pretty cool. I think I want to be a veterinarian. Neither of my parents were in medicine. They're not doctors. They're just regular old Joes here. But they were like, okay, cool. So that's really neat. We're going to do what we can to help you. So when I was in high school, I started shadowing with a veterinarian and kind of decided at that point that, okay, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is something I want to do. So then I went through 4 years of undergrad. I did major in biology, so you have to study science. So if you like science, this could definitely be something for you. While I was there, I started working with wildlife and I started doing research with turtles and just really fell in love with reptiles and decided I really liked those guys. They're probably some of my favorites. So you'll see me here with this big old turtle right here named Roger. And then I've got our boa constrictor right there, so some pretty cool snakes. And then when I went to veterinary school, so 4 years of college, and then 4 more years of veterinary school to get my doctorate. So 8 years after high school, I was still in school, so a long time. But at that point, I did start working a little bit more with exotic animals, started working with what are called raptors, so birds of prey like eagles and hawks and owls. And then continued my work with turtles. I did a little bit of specialized training and did some externships, so working in hospitals that just work on exotic pets. So that's kind of how I got into all of this, and it kind of expanded from there. There are lots of different things you can do as a veterinarian though. So it's not just, hey, I work on animals, I vaccinate them, I make sure they're healthy. I also have people that I graduated with that do all of these things. So you can go on to do zoo medicine, you can do conservation. So there are some vets that just go out and work with scientists and they make sure that these animals out in the wild are healthy. They're making sure that, like in Africa, animals like elephants and giraffes that are endangered right now, they're trying to help them move these animals into where they can be protected and things like that. You can also go into research. So working with the CDC or Center for Disease Control, developing vaccines and making sure people are healthy. So animals play a really big role in making sure that humans are healthy as well. There are also people that will work with the USDA, so making sure our food is safe. They work in law, so making sure that laws are passed to protect animals and that protect our food supply and things like that. So there's lots of different things you can do as a veterinarian. Probably the most common thing that I get told too is, wow, you guys are kind of like real doctors. Well, we are real doctors. We just work on lots and lots of different species instead of just one. So there's lots of really cool things that you guys can do if you wanted to become a veterinarian. It just takes some time and takes some dedication. So there's a lot of stuff you have to do to get there, but there's some really cool stuff you can do as a veterinarian.
All right, my name's Larry Bundy, and I'm going to let you know what the career field for air conditioning sounds like. I spent about 45 years in the career air conditioning. I also brought some tools that I used in the trade to show you and demonstrate some of the things that we did. I started out in the Air Force. In 1971, I joined the United States Air Force and spent 4 years in the Air Force working in the heating trade. And then after that, I went to trade school for a year at Quincy, Illinois, and then after that I moved to Murray, Kentucky and started working in the trade. And the trades can consist of several different things. It can be air conditioning, refrigeration, heating, electricians, plumbers. How many people have heard their parents try to call a plumber electrician? And how long does it take them to get there? A long time. If you got an hour, you got lucky. But yeah, so the trades are short on people, and in any of the trades. And that's why it takes so long for you to get somebody to respond. It's not because they don't want to come, it's because there's not enough people to go around. And this has been going on for several years. But after I got to Murray and went to Louisiana for 5 years, I came back and worked for Trane Air Conditioning for about 30 years. And I worked on anything from a window air conditioner to a chiller that would take care of about 1,500 homes. And that's a lot of tonnage, they call it. So I'm going to show you some of the tools that we used in the trade, but I can't emphasize enough the learning that you have to have in order to continue education, to be able to work in the industry. I read something about every night about the trade, and also went to several schools and continued my education even through my career. So anytime you have an opportunity to increase your education, I will jump at that chance. Those of you that were here last year, what's this? You remember? Yes, a thermometer, right? And the way you use it is you pull this little trigger and it reads the temperature here. It also has a sensor in here that reads the temperature on where you're pointing it. But it also has a laser, a little red laser, and you can see the laser. See the little laser light? Don't ever point that in somebody's eye because it can damage their eyesight. But right now, if we point it and it reads what temperature?
72.
72. So if I read it on my hand, it's probably going to go up. It's probably warmer there, isn't it? So what temperature is that? 83. So that's how this device is used. But we use it to check airflow or air temperatures, and we use it to check pipe temperatures. So that's one of the ways we use this device. This is another type of thermometer. It has 2 leads on it, and sometimes you can get as many as 6. And this little lead right here can be strapped to a pipe and read the temperature of the pipe for cold water and hot water. And as you see, there's a temperature there. What temperature? 76.8, and there's another spot that you can read at 76.6. So this is another type of thermometer. Yes, you have a question?
So it's like when you're cooking and you need to check the temperature, you just like stick it in.
Well, you wouldn't use this for cooking, but they do make thermometers used for cooking. Yes. This is a voltmeter. This is what we use to check voltage with. We're all the time needing to find out how much voltage we have in a system. So this is used for checking voltage. I need a couple of volunteers. Raise your hand first. And I'll let you hold it like a pencil. And then can you hold this one like a pencil? What I want you to do is hold the battery up. This is the battery. It's a 9-volt battery. Take the red probe and put it on this lead in the center right here. Take the black one and put it on the other. Put the black one and put it there. As you see, okay, now reverse it. Put the black lead out here, the red one there. Okay, you see the voltage it's reading? It's about 2 volts. Okay, go to the middle battery. Reverse it. That's reading about 4 volts. Go to the next battery. Okay, that's reading about 10 volts. With that being a 9-volt battery, no, the last battery we checked is the battery that we need to be using. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. This is a device that's used to check vacuum. In a refrigeration system, we have refrigerant and oil. That's all we want in there. Sometimes whenever you first start up a system, you have to pull a vacuum on it. This actually reads vacuum on the system, which is in microns. and it's reading 732,000 microns, and we're looking for a level of about 500 to charge the system. That kind of leads us into this. This is a set of gauges. These read the pressures in the system to help us diagnose the system. The blue one is low pressure, the red one is high pressure. The way we read it is we unscrew it, we screw this onto a fitting that's on the system, and then we read the pressure. And that tells us how to read the pressure. The center hose is used to hook to a refrigerant tank to be able to charge the system through these valves. You have a question? What? Yeah, some of the dads do. This is an electronic leak detector. It's going to make a little buzzing sound. It's not going to hurt anybody. There's a little probe here. We use this probe to check for leaks around the system. It's turned on. I need to calibrate it first, so it's going to make a little ticking noise, maybe a squealing noise. That little light's going to blink. The little bottle down here has a little bit of refrigerant in it. Okay, so we're going to check and see if it's working correctly. Then it'll increase. You hear that? That means there's a leak. This is that little bottle of refrigerant. So that's how that's used. This is an oil pressure gauge used to check oil pressure on oil-fired equipment. It's an old one. This meter is used to check capacitors. There's capacitors in systems that are single-phase electro, and you select the microfarad rating that you want, and then put these two leads on it, kind of like we did the battery, and it checks the capacitance of that capacitor. I didn't bring one with me, but we can't see that. This is a gas pressure meter. How many people have a gas stove at home? This can check the pressure on the gas stove or a heating device, and it reads in inches of mercury, or inches of water rather. So that's what that's used for.
I am a DV coordinator. Does anybody know what domestic violence stands for? No? No? Okay, so domestic violence is, so DV stands for domestic violence. So domestic violence is any type of violence, any type of abuse that happens inside the home. Does that make sense?
My sister and my dad do that all the time.
Go ahead.
My brother keeps hitting me, but I don't do anything.
Okay, so that's a little different, okay? So we're talking about not more like brother and sister violence, not like that, although that is a problem, but more like, so like couples, so like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, things of that. That's what we try to prevent. You know what I'm talking about now? Okay, so kind of like what we do. So victims of domestic violence, they can get protective orders. So that's what I do in my everyday. So I help victims get protective orders. Does anybody know kind of what a protective order is? No? You want to guess?
It's like you do like an order to protect yourself from getting hurt.
Yeah, definitely. That is something.
I know, but also like whenever you tell them to like stop, like if somebody has a wife, then if your wife would be mean or violent, then they can break up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I know what victim means.
Yeah, you know what a victim, tell me what a victim means.
The target, the person that's being targeted. If you just
Yeah, for sure. So with a protective order, it's exactly what you said. So it protects the person. So it protects the person itself, so the person that they're against, so the person that's abusing them, like causing harm to them, they're the ones that have to stay 500 feet away from them. So for example, if you're in Walmart and the person you have a protective order against comes in, they're in violation of it. Karen? Yeah. So and then it also protects like your home and like your work. So if at any time they violate that order, so they come into your home, or maybe they're at your door, or they're within 500 feet of you, that's called a violation. So that's what we call contempt. Contempt is when you violate a court order. So at violation of that order, it could result in jail time. So you don't want to go to jail. Yeah, so that's kind of like what I do. I help people get protective orders. So when I help them get protective orders, who knows, kind of like when I help them get protective orders, we get it in the courts. So the judge is the one that grants the protective order. Yeah. If you say it one more time? Yeah, so kind of like that. So if you get accused of domestic violence or anything like that, you get to appear in front of a judge to make sure that they're not lying in their emergency protective order statement. Does that make sense? Yeah, in a way. I mainly work with the courts, but I also work with law enforcement too. Does that make sense? Yes. Yeah, so the judge grants the orders, so I kind of talk to the judge face to face so we can kind of get a sense of what's going on. Okay? Go ahead.
This is an example. Let's say Cassie's a
Okay.
He already is. Just say pretend.
Yeah. All right, I got it. What's your question?
He's violating you.
Okay.
So you two had to go to court.
Yeah.
So you're trying to help her not go to jail, and you're trying to make him go to jail.
So basically that's exactly what it is. So let's say she's the victim, I would help her. I wouldn't talk to you because you're the perpetrator. You don't need help, okay? So at any time, so like if somebody needs help, so let's say you said you were the perpetrator, right? So the judge can order you, I'll be right with you. The judge can order you to go to some type of counseling, some type of treatment, if you think that it's like anger issues, things of that nature. So they can help with anger issues, they point you to classes, make you go to those classes. If you violate the judge's order, so like let's say the perp doesn't go to those classes, they can face jail time for it, and we call that a bench warrant, okay?
But also, when you're asking your question, if I get the question in a minute, please shout at me because I can't hardly hear you, okay? So I'm from here. So I went to Hardin County Schools.
Did you?
We moved back to the United States when I was in 3rd grade, and when I went from 3rd grade to 12th grade, I went to Hardin County Schools. And then I went to Western Kentucky, and then I did optometry school in Birmingham, at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. So to be an optometrist, it usually takes 8 years of college. So there's 4 years to get started with, and then 4 years once you get to optometry school. And I knew I wanted to be, y'all are 3rd grade, right?
Yeah.
So about your age is when I started wearing glasses, and that's when I decided kind of really quickly that I wanted to do this for a living, because when I would always go get my eyes examined, there were these gadgets in the exam room, and I always thought that was just the coolest thing ever. So I wanted to do this when I was a really little kid. So when people come to me, we check their eyes for glasses, we check them for contacts. If somebody has something in their eyes, we can kind of take that out of there. But it's just a really cool profession. So a couple things I really like about my job, all right? But in my job, people don't die. You know, so I'm not dealing with life and death situations. There's no blood. All right? So if somebody comes to me and their eyes are bleeding, they don't stay in my chair very long. They got to go see somebody else. All right? Another thing I really like about my job is I don't get called in after hours very often. Every once in a while, but not too much. All right? So, yeah. Yes, ma'am. That's all right. We'll come back. All right? So, anybody have any questions so far? Yes.
So when I was like 3 or 4 years old, that's where I started wearing glasses. I didn't start wearing glasses till I was little, because we didn't know about my eye issues.
Well, of course, but once you found out, you can see a lot better, can't you?
I can see just fine without my glasses.
But they help you read better, and your eyes don't turn in when you put them on. Yes, sir. Eye doctor, optometrist. No, not at all. It's like if you go to your regular doctor, they don't give you medicine unless you're sick. Right. Yes, sir.
Like if your parent goes to the eye doctor, do the eye doctor
If your parents go to the eye doctor, I didn't hear the last part.
will they turn on a show so the kids are entertained?
No. Kids should be able to entertain themselves. Yes, sir.
Especially if you have this. What about glasses?
Huh?
Why didn't it look 3D? Because I kept on trying to grab it, but I couldn't grab it.
Because the way those glasses work, that they kind of make your eye, there's two different images there, and with each eye sees a different image, and when you got the two different images, it makes it look like it's standing up at you.
Oh, that's why the fly looks so.
Yeah.
I tried to grab it, but
It's just nothing's there, is it?
yeah, I couldn't grab it. Can I try that again? Can I try that again?
There's two different pictures of that fly on there, and when you put the glasses on, it kind of makes them come together, and so that's why it looks like it's standing up off the page for you.
What is the back part? I tried to grab it.
That's just a little more. That's just to kind of check it a little further. So like the one.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So what grade do we have here? Fourth grade. Are you guys ready for fifth grade next year?
Yeah.
No? Some mixed emotions?
Yeah.
I got you. So my name is Chase Richardson, and I work for KU here in E-Town, which is Kentucky Utilities. Has anybody ever heard of KU? Nobody? What about have you? What about Nolin? You heard of Nolin? Those are your two power companies here in town. So KU, we serve about 36,000 people in the Hardin County area, down in Hart County, some in Bullitt and Nelson as well. So I'm a third generation lineman. Does anybody know what third generation means? You? That's correct. You're the first one today to get that right. So I'm a lineman. My dad was a lineman. His dad was a lineman. So we've been kind of passing this down from generation to generation. So one of the things I like to do on my job is I work on these lines out here on the road. You see those on the poles out there? Real high up in the air. So those lines are 7,200 volts, which is pretty high, right?
Yeah.
Like your normal light bulb's about 120. So that's pretty high, okay? So to work on those lines and to work safely, this is just one of the things I've got to put on. These are really thick rubber gloves, okay? I've got some extra ones here I'm going to pass around if y'all want to try them on. Put them on, pass them around.
That's pretty cool. When you're done doing it, do you want to give it to me? I feel like I'm Thanos and I'll just want to snap and
Does anybody know why I have to wear rubber? You?
If you don't wear rubber, I mean, if you don't wear rubber, and if you wear other fabrics, then it will, the electricity, the shock, it will go through the fabric and then it'll...
Right, so rubber is not a conductor of electricity, okay? So it doesn't go through it.
All fourth graders, voices off.
So the higher the voltage, the thicker the rubber gloves I have to wear to keep myself safe, okay? So I'll wear these and these sleeves, and then when I'm working on the lines, I'll use this orange blanket on the ground here as protective cover, and that orange hose in front of you there to go on the line. Kind of acts as a barrier, okay? So when I got out of high school, I went to a lineman training center in Somerset, and it was an 8-week class that I went through, and what they taught me there was just the basics of climbing poles, just being able to climb, work safe, and they helped me get my CDL license, which I have to drive the big bucket trucks. After that, I got into the trade, and I've been in the trade for about 10 years now. So to be a journeyman lineman, it takes around 7,000 hours of on-the-job training. So it depends on the year. It could be 3.5 to 5 years long to get those hours in, okay? Did anybody lose power back in March in the windstorm? A bunch of you. What about back in December when it got really, really cold outside? Has anybody lost power on a beautiful sunshiny day? Sometimes?
I lose my Wi-Fi.
You lost your Wi-Fi?
Bro, you live in McDonald's?
So no matter what the weather is outside, whether it's really cold, really hot, or it's really nasty and raining outside, you know, when the lights go out, we've got to go out and go to work.
Well, my lights will go like off and on.
Yep, sometimes that happens. Yep. So when it's really raining outside and nasty, I'll wear these protective, waterproof vests here, really reflective, really see really well at night, keeps me dry. When it's cold outside, I've got some bib overalls and some really thick clothes that I wear. So I've got to be able to work in all the elements. Question?
My mom got really mad at you guys because we had to stay 3 days without power. And she was like, why won't they fix it?
Yep, sometimes it takes a long time, depends on the situation or how much damage we had. KU, we had about 13,000 customers out during the windstorm here, just in the E-Town area alone. You know, so sometimes it takes a while. So.
Hi, I'm Assistant Chief Don Corpy with the Rineyville Fire Department, and this is?
Firefighter Laura Corbit with the Rineyville Fire Department. Both at that. When you guys came to our station.
Oh, yeah.
So you've seen our trucks, you've gotten to hold a few things. You've gotten to
shoot the fire hose.
Shoot the fire hose. All right.
Yeah.
So who wants to be a firefighter? Outstanding. All right. So let's talk real quick about some little stuff, all right? First thing. So we get like, Rineyville gets like 300 calls a year, so that's not too bad, right? So, yeah. So, you know, it doesn't bother us too much. Like this morning, we could be here, right? And then we get a call right down the road, right? And then we just help somebody. And then we came right back to be with you great Americans. Is that Pikachu?
Yes.
That's Pika Pika. All right. So, just raise your hand, right, and work with me, and we'll work together as a team, okay?
You're wearing yellow and Pikachu's yellow.
Pika Pika. So, Diago's my favorite, though, I got to tell you. I'm a Diago guy. But, all right, so out of about 300 calls, what do you think our biggest call is per year, the most volume? UK. Is that University of Kansas you got on right there?
No, it's University of...
And I thought there was hope for you, young man. Nah, that's good. Well, so what do you think it is?
like dangers of like bigger wildfires.
Okay, well, all right, so we have grass wood fires, and we get about probably, 30 or so a year of those?
Yeah.
Maybe 30, 35 of those a year.
Fall's a big time.
All right, what do you think?
Houses.
What'd you say, Godzilla attacking?
Houses.
Oh, house fires. Oh, all right, house fires. Well, that's a good point because people would assume we're the fire department, right? House fires would be like the biggest thing we do. But house fires, we actually only get like 8 or 9 of them a year. So we don't get many of them, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, one more guess and then.
Have you ever got a hotel?
Well, I'm asking the question first. Go ahead. That sounds like a question too. Oh, go ahead, buddy.
Say that to him.
Bonfires? Okay, nope. All right, last chance. Go ahead.
Car wreck.
Car wrecks. Well, car wrecks, you know what? Car wrecks is probably the 3rd most popular thing we do. So that was a good guess. All right. See what Miss Laura? This is Miss Laura right here. She's not a Leo. She's not a Leo, the lion you love. But, so the number one thing that we respond to is medical calls. And it's all type of medical stuff. From people cutting their grass, right, and getting hit by a rock from the mower, people rolling over their lawnmower, people getting hurt in the kitchen while they're cooking, somebody having a heart issue or a stroke. So that's our number one type of calls. A matter of fact, of about 300 calls, about 200 of them a year. So about 2/3 of them are medical calls. All right, so we get a lot of those. And somebody mentioned motor vehicle accidents. We get a lot of those. That's probably our second. And then small grass wood illegal burns. That's also, so those are our top 3 things. Small grass wood fires, illegal burns, motor vehicle accidents, and accidents, if I had to put them in order. All right. So if you want to be a firefighter, I think that's awesome. So we're volunteer firefighters, which means we live and work, right, like everybody else with a regular job. And then we come out and support the community when we're not working, and we come out and help people. So my next question, right, how many of y'all got a plan to evac your house in the event of emergency? All right, everybody's hands should be up. All right, you ready? Here we go. How many ways out did you identify? 7. Well, that's good. At least 2. I love that answer. 7 is good. All right. All right. Where's your location point to meet up when you get outside? Bum, 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 bum.
The other side of the wall.
Did you just make that up, or is that true of your plan?
I Either at a tree or your mailbox.
No,
Okay.
not a tree. No tree, no.
A tree far away, like your neighbor's house.
Okay, well, yeah, okay.
Respect.
Relax, young man, it's okay. We're just talking here. So, all right, so your neighbor's house was a good idea, right? Your neighbor across the street, your neighbor to the side. But the last thing on this is that everyone has to know that location before something happens. So everyone already knows if something happens, we are going to meet at this place. That's very important. Okay, go ahead, young man.
So, have you ever gotten a call at like a school district before?
I have. You know, we've been at this school several times this year.
Really?
Yeah.
What for?
Well, for whatever reason, right, the water pressure coming in this section of town sometimes drops below what it needs for the sprinkler system in the event of emergency. And when that happens, it sets off an alarm, and then we come and check it and say, yep, it's low pressure, but it's okay.
It happened at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
Really?
That's
why. Oh wow.
All right. Yes. Hello?
So, like,
There I was in front of the TV eating popcorn and drinking a yoo-hoo, and then we're ready for the question. We're ready. Okay, when it comes back to you, we'll call on you, okay? All right. So we're going to go over some things on the truck. Someone's got a question real quick? I see. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. One of y'all?
have you ever had a call about a hotel fire?
Yes, I've actually been on a couple of hotel fires. They're extremely dangerous because you have a lot of people in a small space. And they're supposed to have what they call like fire breaks and fire barriers to slow down fire if there is. But it's very difficult because you have what we call in the fire service, what we call a lot of fuel. And when we say a lot of fuel, that's just a fancy way of saying things that burn and very close together. So yes, the priority is getting the people out, right? And then property conservation.
That's firefighter James, by the way. He's going to his regular job now.
Young man,
Why is there a Coke on the truck?
she's a,
Nothing.
well, you should ask, why is there more Diet Coke on my shirt than still in my cup? That would have been a good question. All right, go ahead. It came back to you?
I got 2 questions.
Well, you get one, then you get a follow-up, maybe, if I like the first question.
Okay, so the first question is, do you have to pay when, like, do you have to pay when you call?
That is a great question. Okay, so where we live here in Kentucky, it's different everywhere, but where we live in Kentucky, right, we have what they call subscription services, which means when you pay your taxes every year, right, everybody loves taxes, right? Don't your parents love paying taxes?
No.
Or when you think a candy bar is 99 cents and then you go to pay and it's $1.07 and now you're 7 cents short, right? Right? Those are taxes. So when everyone pays their taxes, they pay a subscription fee, right? And that little bit they pay a year, that's why they don't get a bill when we come out to help, because
It goes on their tax and
you just pay one small amount a year, because there's 3 things we do in the fire service. There's only 3 things we do. Does anyone know what the first one is? I'll be impressed.
Can you tell me the question?
Okay, there's 3 things that we do in the fire service. Everything we do falls under these 3 things. Yes.
So, like, what do you use the ladder for?
To climb, because we like getting on roofs. Right, one? All right, so I'm going to tell you real quick, and that'll help explain what we're doing. There's 3 things we do in the fire service. The first thing is what we call is life safety. That means whether it's putting out fire, whether it's going to a motor vehicle, a medical call, is we try to save lives. That's the first priority. Our second priority in the fire service is what we call is incident stabilization, which is a fancy way of saying keeping everybody safe once we get there. And then the third thing we do is property conservation, environmental impact. Everything we do. Who's got a pet?
I got 2.
All right, anybody got an iguana or a snake? All right, your cousins do?
I have a snake.
All right, so a hedgehog, we like hedgehogs. So if you call 911 and you say, hey, my iguana's in the chimney, right? Or my hedgehog is stuck in a pipe, right? We may come and help with something like that, right? We do that type of stuff too.
I have 2 questions.
All right, I'm ready for the first one.
I already told you the first one.
Yeah, but you said you have 2 now. So that would be a total of 3, which means you have misspoken.
I had the other one
So that'd be a total of 3.
Oh my gosh.
All right, what is the question?
Okay, the other question was, so when you do like a prank call this time.
A prank call?
No, like pretending to have fire, like a pretend fire. So
What is this,
and then
Howard?
you called the fire truck.
Is this okay?
The fire truck.
Nice backpack you got.
Do you like have to pay?
Yeah, my name's Neil Young. I'm currently a first officer with Republic Airways based out of Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah, so our airplane, it has a lot of technology to it, and it detects things. Believe it or not, it tells me whether something's wrong or not, and then I can look at it. But then also I have my iPad that I can use to help sort of detect things within the airplane. How did I know I wanted to be a pilot? You know, that's a good question. I don't know exactly when it happened, but I know I like airplanes. I know I like things that fly. And it probably started in elementary school, making paper airplanes, throwing them out on the playground. That's probably where it started, to be honest.
My name's Chris Goldman. I'm with the Hardin County Water District #1. I'm the Purtle Spring Water Treatment Plant Supervisor. So what we do is we take the water from the river, clean it up, make it safe to drink. We run 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. A little background on me, I'm born and raised in E-Town. Got a college degree in chemistry. We run a bunch of tests, experiments to make sure that the water's safe. So the chemistry degree really helps out.
Hello, my name is Mike Fole, and yes, I am Miss Fole's husband. So if you ever see me walking through the halls, that's because I am married to Miss Fole, okay? So, but I'm also a banker, all right? And I work at Limestone Bank. Anybody know where Limestone Bank is here in E-Town? Go for it.
It's like near Southeast Christian.
No, it's on the other side of town. You try it.
It's by A-Down.
Oh, there you go. Hey, good try though. Here, you too. All right, thanks for raising your hand. I ain't got many of those though, so I may not pass them out. So those are little cell phone things, okay? You can stick them on the back of tablets, cell phone, keep whatever you want in there, okay? All right, so yeah, so it's back behind near Bound over by Target, okay? So my title is CRA Business Development Officer, okay? So that's just a long title. It really doesn't mean a lot. It's just, that's what they call me, okay? So we're gonna talk about this acronym. Anybody know what an acronym is? Go.
I think it's a certain thing that people do.
Wait, what is it?
I think it's a certain thing that famous people do.
Well, no, so an acronym is an abbreviation. So it's just a 3-letter abbreviation that means something else, okay? So what CRA means, but good try. CRA, well, first I'm going to tell you my background. CRA means Community Reinvestment Act, okay? So, but we're going to get to that. So my background, okay? So I went to G.C. Burkhead, West Hardin Middle School, Central Hardin High School, and then I graduated from Western Kentucky University in 2011, okay? So yeah, go ahead.
You really like the Bruins?
Oh, I'm diehard Bruins. Bruin pride, through and through, okay? So then after that, I joined. Anybody tell me what USAF means? Go for it. It's okay. United States. Anybody guess what this is? Air Force. So I joined the Air Force after college, okay? So I was in the Air Force for 4 years, active duty, and then I was in the Air National Guard for 4 years, so 8 years total. Okay, after that I was a manager at Enterprise Rental Car here in town. After I got out of active duty, I became a manager at Enterprise Rental Car, okay? And then after that, I got my first chance in banking. I became a loan officer at Kentucky Neighborhood Bank, which was a small local bank here, okay? They got bought by South Central Bank. So then I became an employee Banks buy each other, okay? So that happens a lot. So then I became an employee of South Central Bank, and I was a branch manager at South Central Bank, all right? And then, about a year ago, I became the CRA Business Development Officer at Limestone Bank, okay? So that's just kind of my background, all right? So yet again, CRA is an acronym that stands for Community Reinvestment Act. Anybody tell me what you think that means? What do you think that means? It's kind of tough, but give it a go, my man. What do you think? What's that? You gotta speak up. You can't think? Go ahead, you give it a shot. Yeah. So I'll help you. So basically it's exactly what it means, okay? So what we do is we give back to the community, okay? So the federal government enacted this in 1977, and they said, the federal government, so president, you know, all these people, senators, representatives, they said, hey, the banks have to make sure that they give equal opportunity to everybody in the communities that they serve, okay? So one of my jobs is I lend money. I give money to people, the bank's money, I give it to them to buy houses. You know how much a house costs? It costs a lot of money, right? Most people don't have that just laying around, right? So they come to banks to help them buy a house, and then they gradually pay the bank back, right? Okay? So what the government said is hey, you got to make sure that you're giving equal opportunity to everybody in the community that you serve. What that means is no matter how much money they make, what their credit score is, all these things, you at least have to treat them all the same. You can approve somebody for a loan, you can deny somebody for a loan, but you better have reasons why, okay? You can't just say, well, I don't like them, so I'm not going to give them a loan, okay? So that's what the government said. Got to give everybody equal opportunity, okay? So that's what CRA is. All right, does that make sense? Go ahead. What's up?
So my mom went to this bank once, which was like this, but she got a loan for going there.
She got a loan? You know, I would bet the vast majority of everybody in here, their parents have gotten a loan, okay? So like I said, that's why banks are here. Banks are here to protect your money, but also to help you make big purchases, okay? So the way it goes is that most people do not have a lot of money just lying around that they can go buy a $35,000 car, they can go buy a $250,000 house, okay? That's what banks are here for, all right? So most likely all your parents have gotten loans before, okay? I have a loan on my house. Miss Foal has student loans. She went to college. College is expensive. Most people just can't pay it out of their pocket, okay? That's what we're here for. So my job responsibilities, manage a portfolio of loans. So basically I have a certain amount of loans, okay? And I have to manage those. That means make sure they're paying their monthly payments, okay? Make sure that the properties, if I loan you money for a house, make sure that house is still standing. It hasn't burnt down. It hasn't done, okay? So these are things that I do. Create new opportunities for potential customers. So one of my key jobs is to go to realtors. Anybody know what realtors do? Everybody? So realtors help you sell and buy houses, okay? And they're kind of the middlemen. So I go to them and I say, hey, if you have a customer looking to buy a house and they need a loan to buy that house, send them to me and I'll help them out with the loan, okay? Target specific areas all across the state of Kentucky, okay? So I run the CRA department for the state of Kentucky for Limestone Bank, so I travel a lot, all right? I'm in my car a lot. Underwrite credit files, that's kind of boring. It's just, I make sure they're good. I check their credit score, their income, things like that. And take good care of every customer. So this is incredibly important as a banker, okay? This last one is the most important thing. I have to take good care of my customers, okay? Because if I don't, they're not going to come back to me, okay? They're not going to come back to me with, say I give them money for a house, but I don't treat them very well. Next time they buy a house, they're not going to come back to me. They go to buy a car, they need a loan for a car, they're not going to come to me if I treat them poorly, right? So that kind of leads me to, well, First, we'll go to education job requirements. So this is what I needed to get this position, okay? Bachelor's degree. I had to have a bachelor's degree. So I had to go to college for 4 years at Western Kentucky and get my bachelor's degree, okay? 5 years of lending experience. That means that, yeah, go ahead. I can't hear you, what? Bachelor's degree? So a bachelor's degree is whenever you go to college for 4 years, okay, and you work towards a program. Like mine was in business, okay, so I took specific business classes through those 4 years, and then Western Kentucky at the end of those 4 years said, hey, you've met all the requirements, here's a degree. And they handed me a piece of paper for a lot of money. I paid a lot of money for a piece of paper. I'm just kidding. It's really important to go to college, okay? So that's an inside joke. So 5 years of lending experience. So that means that I had to actually loan money to people for at least 5 years before I could get this position, okay? And then 3 years of CRA experience. So that means that I had to have specifically Community Reinvestment Act experience for 3 years before I could get this position, okay? And then things that make a great banker, okay? Skills needed. So every job needs certain skills. People person, like I told you. The most important thing as a banker is the people, the customers that we serve. So you got to be a good people person. You got to love to talk to people, interact with people, okay? Like I love getting in front of you guys and talking to you, okay? Good with numbers and math. Who's good math? Oh yeah. Oh, I love math. And I'm not saying even if you don't love math, you can be a banker, okay? But as a banker, you're going to deal a lot with math and numbers, okay? That's just the way it goes. I deal with numbers every day. Divide, calculate, multiply, all these things, okay? Friendly, got to be friendly. Like I told you, if somebody comes to me and wants money for their house, then I'm just a grouch. I'm like, oh, get out of here. And I'm being mean to them. Are they going to come back to me? No. Nobody wants to be treated like that, right? We all want to be treated kindly, so you got to be friendly. Outgoing. What's outgoing? What's that?
Going above and beyond.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Going above and beyond, okay? So outgoing means that you're not scared or nervous about getting in front of people. You like to talk to people. It kind of ties in with being a people person and friendly and all these other things, okay? It's self-motivated. So I'm kind of like my own boss. I don't have many bosses at the bank, okay? I don't have people constantly telling me, hey, Mike, do A, B, and C. No. It's up to me to motivate myself to get my job done and take my job responsibilities seriously, okay? And then, what's up, man? Hold on. Hey, you ready? Come get a sucker and a sticker, quickly.
My name is Jennifer, and I'm going to let you guess what my career is. What do you think my career is? Darker than R. Yes. Nope, I'm not a doctor. A registered nurse. I'm a registered nurse, which means I get to take care of a lot of people, okay? So, what does that mean? What do you have to do to be a registered nurse? Does anybody know? Do you have to go to school? Yeah, for a really long time, okay? You know what else you have to do? You have to be good at math and science. Who likes math and science? Yeah. Okay, so math and science, we have to try really hard, okay? So I went to school for 4 years to get a bachelor's degree, okay? So I have a bachelor's degree in science. Then I went back and got a master's degree. So listen, I'm a master of science. So you can be a master of science, or you can go on and be a doctor of science. You can get a PhD. So I've been a nurse for 25 years, okay? So I've done lots of different jobs. So who can tell me some different jobs that nurses do? Okay, so you can work in surgery. You can be a surgical nurse and help in the OR.
nurses that work with kids? Okay, I work with kids. I'm a pediatric nurse. I also deliver babies, okay? I also work with the little tiny babies that are really sick, all right? And I also did mother baby, where I take care of pregnant ladies, okay? And let's see, I did a lot of jobs. So now my job is to come around to schools and talk to you guys. I also work with the homeless population, so I take care of some homeless people that have substance abuse problems. I take care of those people too. But I really love coming to schools and talking to you guys. So nursing is not just blood pressure cuffs and poking people in the finger. You can be a computer nurse. You can work in law. You can work in the hospital. You can work in a helicopter. Who here wants to work in a helicopter? Okay? There's staff flight nurses. And you can fly to other places and pick up really sick people and bring them back to the hospital. Okay, here's the big one. Who wants to know what nurses make as far as money? Who wants to know how much money nurses make? Okay, all right, so I'll tell you. Now, when you start out and you've got your bachelor's degree and you're a brand new nurse, do you think you make a lot of money? Okay, so you make about $40,000 a year, which is still really good. Help people deal with some problems that may come up in their life.
Sometimes everybody needs a little bit of a helping hand, right? And the laws, does anybody know how many laws we have? A bunch. Yeah, we don't know how many laws we have either. They're constantly changing. So a lawyer's job is to help people whenever they're dealing with something that has to do with laws. They have to figure out, okay, what's the best way that we can handle this situation since we kind of know the rules of the game, right?
Okay, my name is Steve Nelson. I'm a conservation officer with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm here today talking to the kids, telling them about my job duties and what I do on a day-to-day basis, and answering questions that they have. Other than that, I've been working for 14 years now, and that's probably about it.
So I was an art major, and I get paid to draw in color every day. That's what I get paid to do. Did it go off? Okay. I get paid to draw in color all day. But aside from art classes, I also worked a lot with geometry. Are you all studying geometry at all right now? Or anything with shapes? You've done it? You've done it before? So when I start a drawing, I start with shapes. Rectangles, squares, right triangles, ellipses, trapezoids. Everything you can think of, I start. Measure angles, you have to know it. So when I was in school and I was your age, I was like, I'm not going to learn. When am I ever going to use this? When am I ever going to draw a rectangle and measure the angle on it? I do it every day. The other thing I use every day for math is reading a tape measure. Do you all know how to measure? Do y'all do measure? If you make a doorway too short, you're not walking through it. So you gotta have the measurements right and know how to do that. So learning that stuff, if you're interested in this at all, learning that stuff is super important. You will use it when you're an adult. So don't let somebody tell you you won't, okay? So I started out with a design firm and I worked for somebody for about 5 years, and then I decided to go out and do it on my own. And I've probably done about 50 houses and probably 75 commercial spaces, which commercial spaces are like doctor's offices, restaurants, churches, office space, all that kind of stuff. Has anybody ever eaten at J.R. Neighbor's Burger Bar or Impelazeri's or Bob Coffee Shop? I designed those spaces. Those were some of my work. So you walked in it, you sat on it, everything. We did everything from the outside of the building to the seating, what material went on the seating, the lighting, the ceilings, everything, the bathrooms, every little single thing that had to be picked out. I worked on that. So, does anybody have any questions before I go on? much work. Yep. So people tell me what they want, and I write a program for them, which how much square footage, do you all know square footage? Area. I decide how much area each one of those requests needs, and then we start putting it together in blocks. And that block forms a building. So yes, I decide that. And then the client approves it. Yeah, I don't just tell them, you're getting this for your bedroom. I don't tell them that. Well, the J.R. Neighbors building took 2.5 years, and we drew it. And that was building it, and the drawings took a year, so 3.5 years. She did. Awesome. Okay, so this is, did everybody know that E-Town has an airport? Didn't know that? So E-Town has an airport, and it's basically a big rectangle box building with brick on it, and that's all it looks like, a big brick box. And they want a new terminal to make it look really cool, so when people fly in, they have something really pretty to look at and a really cool space to sit in and wait for their plane or wait for somebody to pick them up from being flown in. So I started with this. This took about 2 days, and this program is called SketchUp. And after I do pencil and paper, it goes to this, and I draw with this pen on this program. And it's really cool. I'll show you. You can move it around. You can draw a box and raise it right up. So it's really fast. So I did this model in about 2 days. This is the airport. This was the start. This was my beginning ideas. Then, once I get it to that point, this is a program. How many people are gamers? Who games in here? Everybody games. Okay. The same programs that build your video games and all the cool graphics are what I use to draw buildings. Okay? So, this is a gaming computer. A lot of gamers use it to do all the cool graphics. It's got the really cool graphics card in it, but it also helps me render and do really cool spaces. So once I take it from this idea, it comes into here, and this is what I will present on Monday, if I can get my mouse to work.